Good evening. This is Cyber Rains. I'm your host, Mr. Rains. Today we're going to be talking about certifications. Are they necessary? Which ones you should get when starting out? And we'll be focusing on CompTIA and a couple other ones. And this is all really based upon what you want to do in cybersecurity and tech in general. So with that, let's get into it. First off, there's a couple different ones. If you're just starting out with cybersecurity or IT in general, more than likely you're going to get a help desk job if you've never touched a computer in your life. With that in mind, the CompTIA A+ is a really good certification. However, it is insanely big, has a lot of information about hardware and how computers work. So if you've never used a computer before in your life, have no idea how it works, it's a really great resource. It does take a lot of time and a lot of information you generally do not need to know for a help desk job. That being said, it is still a good source of information in order to learn more about computers and how to tinker around with them. And a lot of times some companies will say, yes, you need to have a A+ in order to do an IT technician job. But a lot of the information is continuously getting outdated because of how fast computers are progressing. And some of the information, even for those who do tinker around with the hardware of the computers, don't really need to know. And more often than not, if you are in a help desk job, you might be in a call center environment, which you will never actually touch the actual hardware itself. You will troubleshoot and understand, okay, there's a broken component. We need to send it off to our hardware guys in order for them to take a closer look at it, repair it, or even replace the computer. Now, moving on from the A+, which is a good starting one if you've never used it before, but if you have used a computer before, I would recommend getting the Security Plus. Security Plus does go in depth a little bit about how computers work. But more importantly, it focuses on the software side, how the internet works and how it all connects, how the processes work, how the ports are, what are the security policies and fundamentals that go into cybersecurity. I got that as my very first certification. I easily got a job as a help desk administrator at my current job. Now, the only con with the certification and these certifications in general is that you do not get hands-on experience. But it's kind of designed that way. It gives you a lot of really good theory about how things work, but when it comes to actually understanding it more in depth, you gotta get your hands dirty. But it is still a really good reference when it comes to cybersecurity. Know that every single CompTIA study guide and certification, they always update. And so after roughly 3 years, every CompTIA certification gets renewed, or at least goes with a new version. And that new version has a lot more information to try to keep up with modern times. Now, because tech is moving rapidly, a lot of that information is always a little bit on the slow end because it takes 3 years for them to write it, 3 years for them to decide what's good information, what's not. So some of the information that I was studying in my Security Plus, I had already found out and learned about and knew more in depth than what Security Plus was giving me. Now, you also have the Network Plus. Now, Network Plus is really great if you're more inclined to know more about the networking side of things. So if you are really interested in working at a data center or throwing cables into homes and plugging them in, making sure that everything's running great, the Network Plus is a great certification to have. Now, I do not have that certification, nor have I really looked into it all too much because that's just not my focus and my particular goals for cybersecurity, but it is still a really great reference to have. Now, all these certifications in these study guides, they're great. They're really great in being a reference to what's going on with the internet and IT. Because they get outdated, you would always have to continuously get more and more certifications. So a lot of people, especially in IT and cybersecurity, especially cybersecurity, always ask, are certifications necessary? Some people say certifications are not necessary, that they're a waste of time and a waste of money. Some people say if you are just starting out, certifications are almost a necessity. I tend to lean a little bit more on that side, where especially if you have never done anything IT and you're just starting out, starting to break into it, you're going to need to have those certifications because then at least HR will be able to check off, okay, you have this certification, you have this certification, and you have this certification. Now, as you gain more experience and more years of experience doing computers, Some certifications you don't need to renew. If you have done at least 5 years of cybersecurity, you probably don't need to renew the Security Plus. Now, if you want to renew the Security Plus, you're more than capable and more than able to renew it. There are definitely a lot of different pathways in order to renew those. There are some certifications that you absolutely need to have in order to show that you are a professional in this field. And that all goes into what paths in your IT journey you want to go into. For a lot of people who want to be pen testers, they need to get the OSCP, which is the Online Security Professional Practitioner's certification. That says, okay, I know how to pen test, and I have done it with hands-on training, because a lot of times with that specific certification, it's offered in Hack the Box. You will be doing a lot of practice, and you'll be doing a lot of labs. So that kind of comes in hands with, I have experience because I've earned this certification. And that certification requires you to actually know what's going on. It doesn't teach you theory, as a lot of the CompTIA certification does. You have to sit down and know what you're doing. Now, CompTIA is still the gold standard for a lot of people just starting out to get into IT. It is still a great certification organization. For those going out, I would definitely recommend at least reading and studying it. Now, obviously, as you progress, you may need only 1 or 2 certifications in order to say this is proof that I am a capable professional person. One of those is the CISSP. That is offered by the ISC Squared, and that is sort of the gold standard for what you're doing in cybersecurity. And it requires that you have 5 years of experience, flat. You cannot take that exam unless you have 5 years experience, and you have to prove it by saying, I worked at this company for this many years, or I worked at this company in these roles for 5 years. And then, and only then after they check it, can you actually take the exam, or at least prep to study to take the exam. Once that's done, then you'll be able to actually take the exam, and that is a very vigorous exam, and it really does test your knowledge, and you really need to have 5 years worth of security experience in order to take that exam. Once you have that, it's almost similar to having your medical license. You're going to get jobs anywhere in cybersecurity. It proves I know my stuff. I am now consider myself a mid to senior level. And many people will ask, hey, I see you have this SSP, and it's proven. Do you want to work for me? Or can you work for my company? It is almost a golden ticket to prove this is the only certification that is worth to have once you get after a certain amount of years. But again, for anyone who is just starting out, look into CompTIA, look into Hack the Box. They have a lot of really great certifications that include a lot of hands-on labs. Those are really amazing to just getting started into IT and cybersecurity. So I would check out on those, and if nothing else, just buy a study guide as a really good source of information that you can read about and understand these concepts if you're interested in a specific field of IT, and you don't have to do the exam. You can say, I know how to do this because I learned because I read the study guide for it, and it will teach me everything I need to know. So with that in mind, I hope you have a good evening, and thanks for watching.